Hey, it's Gabe with API Nation. Today I'm going to show you how you can sync your database right into Sisu using the Google Sheets sync. It's super easy to do. It's going to save you a ton of time getting those contacts in there so you can start the transactions up, start the gears moving, and create more deals. Let me show you how to set this up. The first thing you're going to do is hop to apination.com and click Start Syncing. You're going to see a ton of different apps, marketing apps, real estate apps, productivity apps, and we're going to find the app you use for your database where you keep all your contacts and manage them. So for a lot of people, that's going to be a CRM. But if you're keeping them in something like Google Contacts or iCloud Contacts, you can use those as well. We're going to use a CRM here. We're going to use KV Core. So let's go with KV Core for an example. Click on KV Core, and the first thing we're going to do is get KV Core syncing out to a Google Sheet. So I'm going to choose KV Core. I'm going to choose Google Sheets. And you can see there's a few different options here for this automation. Two of them are sending stuff from Google Sheet into KV Core. Those would be great options for some other things you might want to try later. But we're going to do this KV Core out to a Google Sheet. So I'm going to activate that sync. And the first step is to sign into your API Nation account. If you don't have one, you can sign up for one right here. Or you can sign in with your Google account, which is what I'm going to do. Just sign into that Google account, and that's going to sign into my API Nation. All right, now we're going to connect both of these apps, KV Core and Google Sheets. So I'm just going to hit connect on KV Core. It's going to take me out to the KV Core website. I sign in, I authorize. That's it. I've made the connection. Super easy. Google Sheets also a piece of cake. Hit the big button. Choose the Google account from the accounts you've signed into on this browser. I'm going to use my professional one. Make sure you remember which Google account you chose, because that is where this Google Sheet is going to be stored, on the Google Drive of the Google account you choose. All right, last step here to create the workflow. Do I want to sync all contacts on first run, or do I just want it to pay attention from now on? I just want it to pay attention from now on. So I'm going to leave this box unchecked. If you got a bunch of contacts you're trying to push into Sisu that are currently in your database, you want it to get caught up, you want them to start matching, then you can check this box. If you just want it to start pushing over stuff in the future from now on, then uncheck the box. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to uncheck it and then just start sending people over now. Then it's going to ask for a sheet name to create, and I'm just going to call this my database of contacts for Sisu. Really long, it doesn't have to be that long. You could just call it contacts for Sisu. Hit the big button, and that is going to create your workflow. Very simple. It's taking contacts from your database, in this case KV Core, sending them to a Google Sheet, and it's ready to go. One thing you might want to do, just so you can control exactly who's going over there, is I know a lot of people will go ahead and set up a filter here, and you can filter on any of the stuff from your database. So these are all KV Core fields I can filter on, and I find it most helpful to filter on hashtags. So I'm going to say filter on tags, and if the tags contains Sisu, then send it to the Google Sheet. So this way, when I'm in my database, when I'm in KV Core, if I tag it Sisu, it's going to send it to this Google Sheet. This Google Sheet is going to eventually send it to Sisu. We're going to set that up in the next step. That's it. So now I've set this up. KV Core is connected. It's sending them to Google Sheets. It's sending them to this sheet. I've set up this filter, so that's only sending over contacts I tag Sisu. You don't need this step, but it is a nice step to keep your Sisu a little bit cleaner. And then down here you can see just all the stuff that's going to come over from KV Core into that Google Sheet. This all looks great. I'm going to activate this. So there we go. The sync is now up and running. It's going to sync every 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and tag somebody in KV Core just to send somebody over. All right, we're going to tag somebody with that Sisu tag to send them over. Let's go with Elise Brown. This one looks good, so I'll click on Elise. Go ahead and add the Sisu tag. There we go. And then within about 10 minutes, it's going to sync Elise over to a spreadsheet. So come over here to my drive, and I'm just going to search for that spreadsheet. Database of contacts for Sisu. There it is. So I'll open it up. And there you can see there's Elise. She sent her information over, and it's ready to go into Sisu. So this is ideal. One thing to keep a note of, we're going to come back to this, is looking at deal type or lead type. because we're going to sync that into Sisu as a transaction type. So we need to know exactly what the lead type is here. So just keep an eye on that. So now let's set up the sync to send the spreadsheet from your database into Sisu. So let's go back to API Nation, click on apps, and I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom where there is the Sisu logo. There it is. Click on that. And we're going to use the Google Sheets sync. And there it is, Google Sheets into Sisu. So I'm going to activate that sync. And you can see my account from Google Sheets is already set up. So I'm going to select that one. It's going to ask me to connect Sisu. Pretty simple. Hit connect. It's going to ask you to label your connection. You can name this after you or your team. This is just in case you're managing multiple Sisu accounts. They would have different names. And then you need authorization. So let's go grab that from your Sisu account. So I'm going to go over to Sisu, go to my admin drop down and go to team settings. There you're going to see some options here. Over here on the left hand side, we are looking for API credentials and webhooks. I'm going to grab that. And there's that authorization. And if you just click this little button over on here, it's going to copy it to your clipboard. There you can see it did it. And now let's go back to API Nation. And we're going to paste that long string in there and hit connect. There we go. Google is now connected. Sisu is now connected. Let's set up this sync. It's going to ask you for the spreadsheet URL. So remember that spreadsheet we created. Let's open that up. And we just need the URL, which is this thing right here, the address. So I'm going to highlight it, hit Control C or Command C, depending on if you have a Windows or a PC. Go back, and then I'm going to hit Control V or Command V on a Mac. There we go. So the spreadsheet is in there. Now we're going to choose if a contact we're sending to Sisu already exists in Sisu. Should it overwrite that contact in Sisu, or should it just fill in any blank fields? I'm going to check the box and say just fill any blank fields. And then I'm going to add a default agent email address. Every contact needs to come over with an email address for the agent. So I'm going to go ahead and put one in here. There we go. All right, so we've created the sync. We're almost ready to activate it. You can see we're sending contacts from Google Sheets into Sisu, where it's going to create or update transactions. Let's come on down here, and it's saying, all right, we need the transaction types. So I mentioned earlier, keep an eye on that lead type column, because we're going to need to match those up with Sisu's transaction types. So to do this, we're going to choose the column that it's in. So I'm going to hit plus, search for lead type. There it is. So lead type is going to sync into transaction type, but it can't just sync in there how it is. It needs to use the exact word and capitalization Sisu uses. And Sisu uses buyer, seller, or both with title caps. So capital B, capital S, capital B. So to do that, I'm going to hit this gear and choose the data transpose option. And this just lets me map up things, how they're written from the sheet, change it so that it's acceptable to Sisu. So for example, we're going to change buyer, and buyer is going to match up to capital B buyer. And then we're going to do seller, match that up to capital S seller. And finally, we're going to do buyer, seller, and that will be both. Looks good. So we have the email, we've now mapped up the transaction type, and now we can go through and map up everything else. So if there's anything else, we do city, we use state. Let's go ahead and grab the email. I'm going to hit the plus sign to find that email address. There we go. Mobile phone number. Let's search for a phone number. Address. You can just go through here and match all this stuff up. Throw in some notes. Zip code, of course. And this all looks great. If there's anything else you want to add, you can go ahead and use this plus sign to search for the information in the spreadsheet. Or if you want, if it's something that you want to just create a static amount of, so for example, if you want the commission rate to always be the same, you can go ahead and type in the commission rate. Just make sure it matches exactly what Sisu would expect for a commission rate. I would double check. I don't think you could type in like 17 and Sisu is going to know it's 17% or something like that. Double check and see what a commission rate looks like in Sisu. It's probably something like 0.3, something like that. So double check that. If you're going to put a static amount in any of these fields, just double check them in Sisu and make sure it's something Sisu would expect. This all looks good. I'm going to go ahead and activate the sync. There we go. Now if we go over here to My Syncs, you'll see we have a sync going from our database, in this case KV Core, to a Google Sheet, and we have that Google Sheet going into Sisu. Let's go over to Sisu and we should see that contact, and there it is. Elise Brown, created automatically in Sisu with all the information from our database simply by syncing it to that spreadsheet. The spreadsheet also sends it over to Sisu. Here it is, ready to go. So that's it. That's how you sync your database to Sisu using Google Sheets. It's going to save you a ton of time in data entry. Just have all those contacts, those leads synced into Sisu as transactions so you can keep it moving, keep track of everything, get a good idea of what's going on in your business, which is going to help you create more deals. If you have any questions or need any assistance setting up this sync, give us a phone call, shoot us an email. We're API Nation, and we're connecting the world's applications.